Welcome to Roughing It with Ruth, the channel where everything is a bit rough around the edges. In this video, I'm going to go over something that is spoken about a lot in hiking and backpacking circles, and that is the 10 essentials. And I know, myself included, a lot of people tend to kind of switch off when someone mentions the 10 essentials, because in my mind at least, it's like someone's going to give you a list of stuff to memorize, and I definitely did not get into hiking and backpacking to memorize stuff. So the 10 Essentials is actually an idea that was started by a group called the Mountaineers in the 1930s, and over the years this list has changed, and even online you'll see sometimes different organizations have slightly different takes on the 10 Essentials, and that's actually totally normal because different areas do require slightly different things in order to be safe. I have just gotten back from a day hike in the Magaliesberg Mountains, and I've just got my running hydration vest on me, which is what I usually take on a day hike. And you can see it's really minimal. Let me see if I can just get up here a bit more. It's extremely minimal and small, but I do have all of the 10 essentials, and I'm going to show them to you now, if I can get this thing off. The very first thing that I am going to start with is hydration. I think hydration is actually one of the most important 10 essentials. I've got 2 soft flasks on my hydration pack. The one is a little bit harder to see because it's completely empty because it was quite hot today, so I drank this one completely empty. And I've got another one here, and then inside of my backpack I actually have a third hard water bottle. I think it's also a good idea for me to maybe mention how I remember my own personal 10 essentials, because I'm not great at memorizing things and I don't want to have to go and look at a list every single time to check that I do have the 10 essentials with me. So the first 3 things in my head all start with H's, and that is hydration, which we've already talked about, then a hat and a hut. So let me start with hat. When I talk about a hat, I'm actually talking about all sun protection. So obviously a hat is sun protection, but I also need to have things like sunscreen, maybe sunglasses, maybe long-sleeved UV resistant clothing, that type of thing. So that's number 2. Then number 3, the hut. If you're going on an overnight backpacking trip, a hut in terms of a shelter could be the actual tent that you're taking with you. But on a little day hike like this, I'm obviously not taking an entire tent with me just for safety. You could take a lightweight tarp, but I think even that is a little bit overkill for me to take with. So what I have is just a emergency space blanket, and I know many people are probably going to say that's going to make a terrible shelter, and you're correct. It's not going to be a comfortable shelter at all, but you don't need comfort, you just need to survive. So that's my thinking on a day hike where it's extremely unlikely that I'm going to have to be out there overnight. I take something very, very minimal, like this Mylar space blanket, which you could pull over yourself as a temporary shelter. It's obviously not going to be comfortable, but at least it's quite lightweight, so I don't have to carry a lot with me. Then the next 2 things on my personal 10 essential list start with an N. The first one is nutrition. So just like hydration, nutrition is food, and you should remember that you need extra food. I have a couple of these Goo energy gels just stuffed in the pocket here, and these I do not eat normally unless I'm really need them on a hike. I just keep them in the hydration pack as a kind of emergency measure, just in case I need a bit of extra stuff if we end up staying out there much longer than we expect. And then the second N is navigation. So navigation is one of the first of my own 10 essentials that can happen on my cell phone. I often use my cell phone for navigation, and I often use my Garmin watch for navigation. And the cell phone is really nice because, for instance, the hiking trail that we did today, it didn't really have a nice GPS track or hiking map on its website, but there was a really nice map displayed at the start of the hiking trail. So I just took a picture on my cell phone and I took that with me on the hike. And that's really all you need for a short little day hike like this. Then the next 2 10 essentials start with an I. Just to recap, so far we've had 3 H's, then 2 N's, and now we have 2 I's. The first I is illumination. So again, that could happen on your cell phone. You could just use the torch on your cell phone. I actually have quite a few redundancy measures for illumination. I have the torch on my cell phone, I have the torch on my watch, and I also have a really tiny little headlamp that I take with me. This is the Black Diamond Flare, I think. Yes, it's the Black Diamond Flare. Then the second eye is insulation. Now, insulation could again be that same space blanket that I use as an emergency shelter, because it does actually reflect your body heat. But what I usually take is, here we go, is this really lightweight trail running rain jacket as an insulation layer. Obviously this is not very thick, but it does provide some warmth, and it definitely keeps you dry, so it helps to keep you warm. And then I usually do also take some other type of soft clothing items. On this trip I took this very small little Monbel down blanket. You can kind of wear it like a shawl, and it's got these little snaps that just snap together, so you can do that. It's way too hot to do that right now, but I do find that having some kind of soft clothing item is very useful if things go wrong on a hike, because it can be used as cushioning, like as a pillow for someone's head if they're lying down, or as cushioning for a limb if the limb needs to be supported, or as padding around a splint. There are really so many uses for a soft item of clothing. So even if you don't take something like this little down blanket, which is extremely lightweight and can compress really small, something like a fleece pullover or a lightweight jacket would serve exactly the same purpose and be just as effective. Then the next two 10 essentials start with an F. The first is fire. Let me see if I've got that here somewhere. Should be, oh yes, yeah. So I carry this very lightweight little bottle of waterproof matches. It's got a striking card here on the side, but you could carry a Bic lighter or a flint and steel, whatever you are the most comfortable using. And again, that would be in an emergency situation. Normally you are not allowed to start fires in the Magaliesberg Mountains where I was hiking, but if it was an emergency, I do have something that I could use to start a fire. The next F is a first aid kit. This is the one place where instead of going minimal, I definitely go maximal. This is my first aid kit, but I will also put on the screen now a little clip of my more minimal first aid kit that I take when I'm just doing a short trail run, because obviously I don't want to lug a massive big first aid kit at that point. And this first aid kit is big because I usually hike with other people and I do want to have enough to share. And now we have an R, which, similar to the first aid kit, is a repair kit. And to be honest, I kind of lump those two things in together, the first aid kit and the repair kit, because my repair kit does live in my first aid kit. And it consists of things like a tiny penknife that has a screwdriver and a little pair of tweezers and things on it, and some duct tape, and cable ties and string and things like that. And then as an extra 11th essential, I guess it would be, I also always take safety items. And for me, the phone is obviously a big one, and the watch as well, because mine has fall detection. It can automatically contact your emergency contacts if it detects a fall, or if you press and hold a certain button, then it activates like a panic button type response and also notifies your emergency contacts. And in terms of safety, I also take, every single time I trail run or hike anywhere in South Africa, I always take pepper spray with me. Obviously this is a very personal thing. Whatever you feel safest taking with you, you should take on your hikes and backpacking trips. And that is it. That is all of my 11 essentials. If you would like to share your own thoughts about the 10 essentials, then please leave them in the comments below, because I would love to hear them. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you would like to see more from me, then you can click on my channel name to see videos that I've made in the past, or you can subscribe to my channel to see videos that I'm going to make in the future.